Microphone check.
Check.
Hello. I'm tired.
All right, that's why it's so late. It's our first meeting after the time change.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's why it's like so different.
It's
Yeah.
so nice.
yeah.
We weren't in there at all. So
Literally had to leave to the airport in Minneapolis at 3, or I had to leave the house at 3 in the morning during change. It was wild. Whenever we good? All right, I will call the March 19th, 2026 regular city council session for the city of Dunsmuir to order at approximately 6:04 p.m. Please stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
yeah.
And when the clerk is ready, may we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Clarino,
Here.
Councilmember Hubbard,
Here.
Councilmember Bryan,
Present.
Vice Mayor Sebring.
Here.
And Mayor Lucchese.
Here, thank you. We'll now move into item C for tonight, a special presentation on Child Abuse Prevention Month.
Hi, my name is Alan Weisfeld and I'm the first vice disputes. Coming up in April, we're actually early this year. It's Child Abuse Prevention Month and Week of the Young Child, which goes from April 11th to the 17th. And so we get all the community partners and governance all together to join us in this campaign to look out for our youngest, most vulnerable population. And right here in Dunsmuir, at the Dunsmuir Library, actually there's a play group that's been pretty well attended, and that's on Wednesdays from 10 a.m. to 11:30. And then coming up in Mount Shasta, there is a group at the Golden Eagle Charter School, and that's a family fun game night. So that's just something for families to keep in mind. And then we were going to have the mayor read the proclamation, if you don't mind. Thank you so much.
Of course. So April 2026, the Siskiyou Child Abuse Prevention Council Collaborative Proclamation. Whereas to become healthy adults, all children deserve to live in safe, stable, and nurturing homes and communities. Whereas children are vital to Siskiyou County's prosperity and future success. Whereas the people of Siskiyou County believe in the celebration of life, inclusion, and hope through our children, and deplore and condemn acts of violence committed upon children of our communities. Whereas the lives of children who have been hurt or lost to child abuse are honored by studying their stories in order to prevent future abuse and to protect the innocent health and lives of our county's children. Whereas child abuse, rape, sexual assault, and sexual harassment impact our society. Whereas child abuse, neglect, and sexual assault prevention is a community responsibility affecting both the current and future generations. Whereas research has shown the enormous impact that positive parenting practices have on a child's social, emotional, and intellectual development and future success. Whereas communities that understand the importance of prevention and support for the well-being of citizens thrive and prosper. Whereas effective child abuse and sexual assault prevention succeed because of partnerships among citizens in all sectors of the county. Whereas April is the month to focus public attention on the needs of all children and prevention of sexual assault. Whereas with leadership, dedication, and encouragement, there is evidence that we can be successful in preventing child abuse and sexual violence in Siskiyou County. Therefore, we hereby proclaim April as Child Abuse Prevention and Sexual Assault Awareness Month, as well as April 11th through April 17th, 2026 as Week of the Young Child. We all call upon all citizens, community agencies, faith groups, medical facilities, elected leaders, and businesses to increase their participation in efforts to support families, thereby preventing child abuse and strengthening families in the communities in which we live.
Thank you so much for reading that.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. And if you would like some pinwheels, and we see this nice sign here, we're going to put it outside if you would like that. If you would like to put it in your yard or in front of your business, just let me know and I'll put you on a list, and we'll have some people come by and drop those off to show your support for the kids. Thank you so much.
Thank
Great, thank you. There are no other special presentations and announcements tonight, so I'll move into item D, public comments. Persons wishing to address the city council on subjects that are not on the agenda will come to the podium or raise their hand on Zoom at this time. They must be items that are within the jurisdiction of the council. And so the council cannot discuss or take action on matters not on the agenda for this meeting, but council members may briefly respond to statements made or questions raised by the public during this time, ask for clarification from staff, or refer the matter to staff or a future agenda. So to speak on this item, you'll have 3 minutes. You can either raise your hand on Zoom or you can approach the podium and have your time. We do request that you state your name and address if you so choose.
Noelle Harrison. I live on Eleanor Street. Some of you may know that I'm active in the CTA, the PCT Hikers Pacific Crest Trail like volunteer network. And so I finally got the trail registry from 2025 and have collected the data. And I thought I'd share it with you because it was actually kind of cool. I made notes so I wouldn't ramble. Hopefully I can keep it to 3. So here we are, our trail exits at Soda Creek, which is mile 1501. We're on the northbounder, which is called. And of course, for some bizarre reason before COVID, Mount Shasta was designated the first PCT trail town, which they have never done anything about in terms of having any kind of fun activities. So my goal is to change that someday. But for now, I wanted to let you know that I went through the book of all the hikers, and at the beginning, I put it in different languages, and the main goal originally was to find out if people were carrying satellite devices in case of fire. But luckily, a smarter hiker added locations. So around the I believe the 9th, July the 9th to the 9th to the 25th of October, information was collected. In total, we had 1,085 hikers sign. And get this, a lot of them don't sign. Now, the PCTA gives out approximately 7,000 permits to start, and that could be northbound or southbound. The majority start northbound at Mexico, and a lot of them don't make it through the Sierra. Normally, right around mid-July is when you see what's called the bubble. And that's when you see a lot of them all show up at once. And I think this year it's going to be a little sooner because we're dealing with a lot of heat. Last year, the biggest day was the 23rd of July when we had 43 hikers come in one day. There were hikers from 45 states and 33 countries from every continent except for Antarctica. The majority will be coming through. I think it'll be early. And according to statistics collected from an online trail report, from just over 700 hikers who did complete the whole trail, the average amount of money spent by a domestic hiker was $9,855. This is not for their equipment. This is on trail expenditures. The average international hiker spends $11,000. The average daily amount spent is around $70, which corresponds to local trail angels anecdotal evidence where they spend about $30 on a meal, $50 on resupply, and if they stay over, then we add that onto the tab. The average number of what are called 0 days, that means the hiker staying overnight, is 17 for the entire Western United States. So obviously our goal is to get them to come here and stay overnight. But the average number of what are called Neros, which means they only come for the day, so it's called a Nero, meaning near 0. The ones that are on a real, I don't want to run over.
Yeah, so it is really interesting information.
I've already done 3 minutes.
That was 3 minutes. Yeah, it goes very, very quickly. But I was wondering, how much more do you have? And is that something that you could finish with a couple?
Yeah, I was going to go over just some comments with it's money, how much money we could get if just a third of those hikers that signed that book, which is not the total number, came into our town and spent that money. It would amount to around $25,000 in how much they're spending. And the hikers use an app called Far Out, which you can look at. You'd have to pay a subscription fee to get our area. And one of the things.
So really quick, I apologize to interrupt you, but if you need more time, again, this is very interesting for us to hear. What we could do is schedule you for a special presentation so you have more time at the next meeting. But if you've got maybe if you can wrap it up in about 2 minutes tonight, because we have a lot. through it because it is interesting.
I'll hurry it up.
Okay.
So one thing is, if you go on the Far Out Trail, you can see the hikers post comments about them. Of Dunsmuir, they love how American it is. They call out Karen in West of the library. They call out Paula at the post office. They have gone to every restaurant, and by the time hikers get here, they know our restaurants. So the things we have to work on is places being open consistently and transportation. The first year I moved here in 2021, there was a bus that did an afternoon drop. It's no longer happening, hasn't happened for a few years. If hikers are getting rides from Trail Angels businesses who charge them, they're gonna go to Mount Top. It's in their head, and they know that there's beer there, and they know there's laundry there, which we don't have. But if they're on a bus, they come through here first, and then they see food, and they're starving, and they will get off here and spend their money. So my goal by presenting this is just to get everybody to kind of think of some creative ways to get hikers that don't necessarily have to be expensive into town, especially during that 2-week period when we see the big numbers, having a banner, having prizes. We already have restaurants that'll do free things. We could set up a small amount of money, which we did a few years ago, or the city could help contribute it, where hikers could get a free soft serve ice cream cone at the places. Tootsie's already gives a free drink. So other ways to encourage hikers to come here over Mount Shasta.
I'll probably follow up with you. just
Okay.
Because it is a bigger item, and I think it's something that we probably would want to discuss more. So I'll reach out, because I think that's really super interesting for us to have.
Yeah, I got a lot. There's guys that does
Questions?
Very brief.
Very brief. Are you going to stick around for a few minutes? Okay. I'm going to I want to address a few points on what you made during my council member comment, so I'll save it for that time.
All right, and because I did give 5 minutes to the initial speaker, I will give 5 minutes to everyone on general. It's okay. No, it's very interesting information. If anybody is doing a project like that, happy to work with you to give you more time as a special presentation like we saw today. But Andrea.
But I don't need 5 minutes. Andrea Herr, 4740 Simpson Avenue here in Dunsmuir. I just want to encourage everybody to spread the word about our senior lunch. It's tomorrow, the third Friday of every month, and different restaurants supply the meal and are reimbursed for that. We have generally 50, 60 people, and tomorrow's the Cornerstone is providing the lunch. At 11:30, there's a gentle exercise. It could be chair or standing. The lunch is generally at 12. And after lunch, people can bring, if they want to bring a couple dollars, it's pretty cheap. There's a bingo. And Sharon and I were trying to think how much it is, even though I played it every time. I don't recall how much it is, but it's really reasonable. So and fun. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Yes, it's at the community building. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Roy Bailey, 5906 Castle Avenue. I'm torn whether this is an agenda item or not, but on the staff report for the overflow tank, it says citizens living along the flow desire to maintain the flow of the tank.
So just really
Okay.
quick, Dwight, we're going to have public comment during.
I understand
that
when the
item.
public comment. What I would like to do is have a parable. I want to tell you a parable.
So
and
so
so
so if it's related to that item, I'm going to shut you down right now.
Okay,
Have
shut me
public
down.
comment.
We do that.
Okay, we'll have public comment during that time for that item. All right, so again, just to reiterate, this is the time for comments on items that are not on the agenda. And again, if you are on Zoom, you can raise your hand, or if you're on a phone, you can hit *9. Otherwise, if there's anyone else in the room that would like to.
Very brief. This is, I'm changing hats here.
Okay.
So we have on our street a light issue where the lights aren't working, and there's been a couple thefts that are happening. And so we think it's partly attributed to the darkness. And I have motion lights and I have solar lights on my fence, but the person that's not there a lot, his tools got taken. And so Victor is always mentioning how it's just really dark. And so I just wanted to bring that to the city's attention. Yes. I did not say my address, 5942 Shasta Avenue. Yeah, okay. Yeah,
Thank
so it's directly across the street and one over from there. He's a person that's a part-time person. And so his tools got broken into and taken. And then they had somebody next door come inside a building. They may have been the previous tenants, however, but we think it's partly because it's so dark that it's a little easier to do stuff like that. Okay, thank you.
Are there any other general public comments for tonight? Seeing none, we'll move into the other items on the agenda. The next item is item E, council and staff member comments. And I think really quick, I'd like to start us off and just address that last one. The other thing too, for members of the general public, if you see a street light out, if you go up to that street light, there's a number on it. And if you just let Public Works or City Hall know the number on the street light, if it's out, they will go and fix it. That is what I typically do in the morning when I walk my dog. If I see one, is I try to record it, but just general knowledge for everyone, they'll go and fix that. Yeah, so after addressing that one, Councilmember Clarno, would you like to quickly address the public comment that you wanted?
I'd just like to thank you. I didn't realize anyone was collecting all that information. And like I said, I'd like to thank you. I didn't realize anyone was actually collecting and compiling that information. That's amazing. Working at the brewery for 6 years, I saw so many people off the PCT came in. It's a huge economic factor in this town, and the more people we can get in there. The one thing I wanted to mention is that we reopened the community waterfall grants because we didn't give out all of the money. And there was a decent amount at that, say the $1,000 level. And when you're talking about things like banners or a program that might help support a free ice cream cone or something like that to bring them in there, there might be a way you could integrate something through that grant program. So there's several of the tiers are still available on that. So the application is on the website. And how much longer are we going to be keeping that open for?
How long you would like.
Okay, because we didn't discuss that at the last meeting.
We did
It'll be at
not,
least open
yeah.
for another week or two. So,
And
Perfect.
so, yeah.
all right, that's all I wanted to.
Cool. All right, and then I'll go back through staff comments and then I'll come back to council member comments, but I'll start with the.
Thank you. Then we've had some deaths on the 5900 block of Shasta Avenue. We will be ramping up patrols there. The other thing, just to remind the public, unless you live in the Scarlet Tree, the deputies have been invited. You'd be shocked at the number of local people that actually get tickets for that. We usually do tons of them. So please don't be that person. You don't live there, don't work there. With the nice weather, a lot more people are going to visit the falls. Parking list for having not done so. Please.
Thank you. Any questions for Sergeant Ortiz? Seeing none, we'll move to City Manager Michelson.
Right.
Oh.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I'll try and keep it brief. We have a couple announcements from our resilience coordinator. So Laura, she's been attending the Firewise committee meetings. There's another one coming up on April 6th for anybody that would like to attend. Then we have what's called the Environmental Justice Element Workshop. If you have more questions on exactly what that means, please reach out to Laura. But that will be April 30th. There is some information on the website for community input. This particular event, this Environmental Justice Element Workshop, is really for the community to provide input. So please get the word out, go and do it. I'm sure Juliana knows a lot more about it than I do. But if you have questions, talk to Laura. So that's April 30th. It's a Thursday. Then we have Green Waste Day,
What was
May
that? I'm sorry.
6 to 8.
Thank you.
Great question. It'll be at the community center building. I don't know where the Firewise committee meetings are. Green Waste Day will be May 2nd. So get your green waste ready. Then there is we're in the draft pose of a post-disaster damage assessment and debris management annex. And so that's just in the works. So we just wanted to give a quick update on that piece. Plus the planning proposals and RFP went out, closed. There was 5 responses. So staff will be doing our reviews at this point, and then we'll be coming back with some recommendations for approval. And
Are
that's
there any questions, Councilmember
Yeah,
Ryan?
I just want to clarify because we discussed at great length, the council wants to be somewhat more involved with the selection process. Just wanted to confirm it won't be one final candidate brought to council, but maybe the top 2 or 3 finalists from the 5. But I'm seeking input from council on this.
So I believe that there's a scoring matrix. So what they could do is they could just present to you the 5 people who presented and then the final scores from the scoring matrix and then the recommendation. Does that work? Then that way you see the proposal.
We just did it with planning and we had 2 at the final.
Yeah,
And we went with 1.
yeah, I believe there
So
were
I
more
wouldn't-
than 2 though. that-
Yeah, I'm fine with
yeah.
that. What I don't like to see is not a presentation of who applied, what the matrix were, and who the top 2 candidates are.
Okay,
Essentially.
Yeah,
Some
okay.
accountability in that regard to be involved with that process.
yeah. Okay,
Is that okay?
We will bring 2
Yeah.
recommendations.
Unless you think you need 3, but.
We will bring,
We've seen everything from council going through every last one
Yeah.
to staff doing it all on their own. And I think a middle ground is always a
Yeah.
good,
Yeah.
good
I
policy.
gotcha. I got it. Yeah. I know what you're saying. I'm seeing what you're saying. Are there any other questions for city manager Michaels? All right, seeing none, we'll move into council member comments and I'll start with Councilmember Claire. Do you have any other comment tonight?
Just want to say thank you for city staff for hard work next door. I got the tour from the sheriff. It's looking great over there, so make sure to pass that along to everyone who's getting that work done.
Councilmember Hubbard,
No comments.
Vice Mayor Sebring.
Just, Mount Shasta High School had a little art show performance at the Siskiyou Arts Museum on Saturday, and I want to thank everyone that came out to that just because it was really cute and nice. That's all.
Thank you. Councilmember Bryan.
Similarly, I wasn't able to make it to the Sam art opening because I was one that's kept that tradition alive for the last, I guess, 60 plus years off and on. So thank you.
And my comments are brief for tonight because we have a number of items that we would like to get to, but thank you to everyone for the first, second Saturday of the year. It was really lovely having all those events downtown and seeing everybody there. Just want to be thankful for all of the volunteer efforts with that, everyone at SAM, all of the businesses, putting everything together. It's a really nice resident event that we have going on in town. So I'll keep it at that. And we'll move into committee reports. I have an Economic Development Committee report. Are there any others for tonight?
There's been a lot of committee work. I don't think I have any reports.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
so the Economic Development Committee had its first meeting where we went over briefly the deliverables of the Cosmot report, but primarily we spent most of the time at that committee talking to Discover Siskiyou, Kate at the chamber and other people who were there. Mark Rowley was presenting on what the business owners have been talking to him about, you know, in the downtown and wanting. And so we talked about enhancing the events that we have going on already in the city with potentially more regional marketing to get more individuals potentially coming up from Reading to frequent our second Saturdays. Right now, it's really got a good local pull, but in terms of the businesses downtown, they'd like to see more outside individuals coming to town and buying things. So we're talking to Discover Siskiyou on what that looks like potentially for marketing those events to the Reading area specifically. For those of you who haven't been paying attention to the gas prices, they are expensive. And so really, we're going to see a lot of people going away from further away trips. And so maybe there's a better opportunity for us to continue to get those Reading individuals to come up because it's not nearly as big of a drive as saying going to Sacramento or going to the Bay Area. We're a little bit closer. So we're talking about enhancing those events. We also did talk about branding, and I know it's an item that the council has brought up periodically throughout the years. So we're going to be looking at a more fleshed out what that would look like for the city to do a branding project and what that cost is, and bringing that back for council to consider in the future. Was there anything else you want to bring up that we discussed?
Yeah, we discussed the scale of marketing to really help our town succeed is going to require some sustained funding. And one of the members of the committee, who's a hotel owner, was very supportive and wants the city to look into either the city hosting or the hotel owners together doing like a mini T-bid in Dunsmuir's region for 2% additional or 3% additional
For TOT.
transient occupancy tax that would be a dedicated fund that would go towards economic development and tourism promotion in Dunsmuir specifically, be able to really focus on us, not Siskiyou wide. And I think we should be partners. If they want to do it on their own, that'd be wonderful. I think we'd still play a role, but even if they don't, I think it might be a very wise thing for us to do.
Yep.
So that we're not constantly weighing general fund versus everything else the general fund's responsible for. So that was a really exciting thing to see some appetite among the hotel owners for having consistent funding for something like that sort of campaign.
Are there any questions? All right, seeing none, we'll move into item G, which is approval of the minutes of March 5th, 2026. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Real quick, I kind of lied. With the Mossbury Trails, I just wanted the council to be aware. The last meeting took place with the committee and the shareholders. Union Pacific invited Deputy Director for the Federal Railroad Agency. And he was very happy to let us know that the entire Mossbury project may have some significant overlap with a grant program that they issue every 2 years. The NOFO is coming out in a few weeks. It's going to be a shorter application window than normal.
What's the protocol?
It's called CRISI is the acronym. Do you know it? Okay.
It's fine. It's fine.
Anyway, I've done some preliminary research on it, and essentially it'll be up to the city to be the applicant on it.
Correct.
But the guy at the agency said we could potentially get design and construction and everything. It's big money.
Yes.
They award everything for, it's countrywide. The smallest awards 2 years ago were like 100,000, but they also had awards up to like 100 million. It was like 1 billion, 83 million and some change, but it's the whole country, and it deals with railroad safety, and it's fairly complex, but just wanted the council to be aware, we could need to move swiftly to put some resources towards making this happen.
We will probably
the-
have to put something on the next agenda for that.
Exactly. So beware. It's
That would be a future agenda item.
Cool.
The only reason I do that, it's an incredibly competitive grant program, and it is a lot of work. And so we need to read that NOFA now.
It's not out yet, but next week.
Okay, then, okay, yeah.
Cool.
Well, I'll take a look at the old ones. Thank you. That's actually very good to know because we have to start on that last week.
There were some grant writers who have volunteered to help if you want
Oh,
their
yeah,
help.
That'd be great. Yeah, I'll connect with you on that one. Thank you. Any other questions for? Great, thank you. Also, I was surprised because Chrissy for a while got kind of like put on the back burner during COVID, so I wasn't sure if they were bringing that back, but it'll be fine. Item H, consent calendar. All matters listed on the consent calendar are to be approved with one motion unless a member of the, backing up, G. G, approval of the minutes for March 5th, 2026. Do I hear a motion to approve?
A motion to approve the minutes of March 5th, 2026.
I'll second that.
There's a motion by Councilmember Hubbard, second by Councilmember Clarno. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Thank you for reminding me to back that up. H, consent calendar. All matters listed on the consent calendar are to be approved with one motion unless a member of the city council or the public requests that the separate action be taken on a specific item. The only item we have on the consent calendar today is approval of the check register for February 28th through March 13th of 2026. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move that we motion to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second?
Motion by Vice Mayor Sebring, second by Councilmember Bryan. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Thank you. We'll now go into old business. Item J1 is city property ad hoc, discuss site between pool and community center. So is this mine or yours or?
It could be both.
Okay.
If you want to take it over, that sounds wonderful. It really is, yes, council decision on what best practice on moving forward. So, right, so there's either, as you're flipping a page, there's either maybe a resolution for a committee, make it an official committee.
I believe I did not do a resolution for this one yet. But I
Right,
wanted
not
to
yet.
get the temperature of the council. So this was
Exactly.
due to this item came up after we had dedicated the new buildings, purchased the new buildings for the Public Works building. And so there was the discussion on the yard And what I heard from council members was that you did want to do public engagement with members of the public. Not really talking about what that looks like exactly at this point. But in terms of doing that, of soliciting public input and then doing a report to the council on what the best use of that property is, whether we keep it, sell it, develop it. I mean, all of those are, I think, on the table, but
Point of clarity, it'd be difficult to sell. It's part of the parcel that includes the ball field, the botanical gardens. So it's not like it was acquired for this. It's
Yeah.
just underlined. We could do a lot line adjustment and subdivision,
Yeah.
but that would,
if that's what people want to do.
Yeah,
But I'm not ruling out any ideas at this point, but this is just to discuss if we want to do an ad hoc committee of 2 council members to see this through for the calendar year, or if you think that this is something that staff can take care of and be directed to do, or you can wait on this item until we have a new city manager. So that's really what's on the table tonight for discussion. Right now, we're just in clarifying questions, and then we'll move into public comment. Is there any questions before we go to public comment?
Just one, at the current time, this is only in terms of the city property ad hoc committee, this is just looking at that property, not other
Correct.
city properties?
Yeah, it would be just this property for right now. If you wanted to do something larger, I would argue that maybe we need to take this one first since it is so public. It's in a prime slot, so. But that could be up for discussion as well. So,
Exactly, right.
all right. Seeing none, we'll move into public comment. If you'd like to make a comment related to a potential city property ad hoc committee to discuss the site between the pool and the community center, you can approach the podium and speak. We'll be at 3 minutes, and then members on Zoom, you can raise your hand as well to speak.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Mike Rodriguez from Dunsmuir Rec District. I wanted to just offer any assistance in your discussion of what to do with that property. I get input all the time. Maybe we should have parking for the pool, for the ballpark, for all the events. But the Rec District and the Botanical Gardens are very interested in your discussion. And I'd like to offer my assistance to be on that committee or to assist. Ernie Walson, who's the garden overseer for the Botanical Gardens, is also interested in assisting. So if we can help you, that would be great, because I'm concerned about what are you going to do with it? It's going to be a lot of dust for the pool. If you can make it a nice, clean parking lot, landscaped area, whatever, but I'm just here to offer any help. So I appreciate, the time to speak. So
Thank you.
just let me know.
All right, I do have David Hicks online who would like to make a comment. Yep. You'll be unmuted, David. You're unmuted. You should be ready to go.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. I think this is a wonderful opportunity the city has with this piece of property. It's unique. Its proximity to the swimming pool is what makes it most unique to me. And so I would like to suggest that at the very least, some portion of that property be converted into a lawn that swimmers can lay out on and relax in between swims. And if the city wants community involvement, I'd be happy to volunteer to help on that project. I actually was on the architectural committee for the development of the Presidio San Francisco way back in my younger days. So, and I've done some big landscaping jobs in the Bay Area just as a hobby. So it's just an interest. If I can be of some help, I'd be glad to. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments related to this item? All right, seeing none, we'll close public comment and go into discussion. On the 2 comments that we got, if we did do an ad hoc committee, we could set it up with members attending from other organizations if you so choose. Really, the difference between the standing committee versus the ad hoc is the ad hoc is not made up of a quorum council members, so it's 2. But I'm open to discussion on what the council would like to do at this time.
I guess I'll start because Brandon and I, or Councilman Hubbard and I kind of got in front of this one with the committee with the Public Works. We've been working on the property for a long time. I think it'd be really fun to engage Dunsmuir to see what they'd like to, it's so rare in our town, the way development in the market's been, that we actually do redevelop a piece of property, how we'd like it now. I definitely would like to see something holistic there that combines the pool, the community center needs attention very, very badly. I'd say if we spend any money on that site, the first thing we need to address is the roof. It was supposed to be part of the construction. And I think we should probably look for something that's going to be applicable this year, maybe at the council level, like now or next meeting, like, you know, what is it going to look like this summer? Because it looks pretty bad right now and we can make it look better. For longer term, I love the idea, and this came up as just a possibility, but if we could get a grant to get a fire hall, that'd be incredible, but I know that's a heavy lift. And you're an expert in such things, and they're very expensive, and they're not giving you, we couldn't afford it if it wasn't, 90% covered grant. So that aside, I think it'd be wonderful to not have it be just parking.
Yeah.
Would be my thought. I think the community's really spoken on that. So my one fear is we take this opportunity because we tore down some buildings and we put all of our effort into that. If I had to choose, I'm thinking about it a lot, but if I had to choose, I'd rather deal with Pine Street Plaza first. If we had a little bit of extra money that we could do a $50,000 project there or Pine Street, essentially it's weighed against all the other projects we want to see in the community. So I guess I don't want the committee to be so laser focused on this without a budget in advance and just come up with a great idea that can't ever really happen. I'd like it to kind of be part of a bigger discussion about what's achievable and what are our priorities for this year, next year. So as far as the council level input, I think I'd like some direction on what the scope of the committee is before we bring in other organizations.
The other option is we could wait until excuse me, we could wait until a new planning contractor is hired, and we could ask them to do a work order to price out what this would look like for them to manage the project, in which they would do the public outreach and then produce a report to us and essentially facilitate those. That's the other option that I had is going through this. And if you didn't do it as a committee, you could have the work plan through the contractor do the focus group specifically with Park and Rec Botanical.
And I guess here's a question, or sorry.
You mind if I jump in there for that kind of point? One thing, I think if it was, say if we still had Jessica, I would be a lot more open to that idea. I think right now where we're looking at getting in a new planning firm who doesn't really know, isn't really that familiar with the city and our resources and the community and the council, I would like to see a little bit more council led, for the simple reason is that we know that there are we know what's doable by the city, what's realistic. And I'm really also looking forward to this process. I just think we need people there who can moderate and bring in expectations. So that way people who might suggest something can be like, hey, that's a great idea. In order to do that, we're going to need a grant. Here's kind of the process that would need to flow through. It may not happen, and kind of be able to juggle the public and their input and reframe it. What's realistic, what's not. And with a new planning firm coming in, I feel like they might have a lot more. My batteries are dying. Might have a lot more, or they're also going to have a lot to work on and a lot to catch up on coming in. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I'm kind of leaning more towards the ad hoc committee side at this time. Thank you.
Here we go. Vice Mayor Seabright, did you have a point?
Oh, I just think I agree with Michael that committee would probably be a better bet at this point, because we do want to start working on it and we don't even have a planner.
Okay. And then in terms of the ad hoc, do you want to have a representative from Parks and Recreation, Botanical Gardens, other members of the public, and what's the?
I would leave that up to the ad hoc. They can invite people to partner. But I guess going back to budget, and I hate to be this way, but there's not currently in our budget a ton of funds to do anything too extensive there. That doesn't mean we couldn't come up with a really cool plan, have it be volunteer driven, and have some funds put towards it. So I guess I just want to warn the committee members, whoever they are, we did get the passage of Measure D. We do need to revamp what the budget looks like going into the next year. But for the time being, there's negative dollars allocated for doing things. We're spending down reserves. So I totally want this to succeed. I guess I just want to do the best we can with very, very little funds and then come up with a solution that can be funded through a grant or some other, I think there's a possibility to get foundations interested in this space as well.
Yeah, and so I do have the interim and the long-term solutions, and I did see on the agenda and the staff report, we do have the ability to direct any immediate action for the site on this item, so I don't know if that's something you want to talk about with the dust, or I don't know, like, do you know what our interim kind of plan is once we clean the site and everything? Are we gonna continue to spray for dust, or what's our plan now?
Yeah, we definitely want to keep dust down. I mean, staff does not necessarily have a need for the space. And so we are clearing things out. In our ordinance too, for parking, we can't necessarily just throw gravel down and have it be parking. So
Yeah.
there's a little bit of aspects there. But yeah, currently we're happy to keep spraying it,
Keep
do
dusting.
things like that,
Okay.
of course.
The retaining wall is already being built in-house.
Retaining wall for like that back section.
Yeah.
I mean, if we need to put ballers in there, whatever those things are called.
I guess maybe at the staff level, come up with maybe a proposal for like next council meeting that's more or less what we wanted to get to in a month for our summer season. You know, like
What it's gonna look like. in
I all I
June.
can really envision is some really nice gravel and maybe some planters up front that we could buy to make it look pretty enough to get through this year without looking the way it does.
So
I don't know.
So
Some affordable,
Do you want short-term?
very short term.
Yeah.
Because I think anything else, government by committee is not known for its efficiency when it comes to timeframes. But I think it'll produce a really wonderful new project for Dunsmuir and for the community. But
So is that, just for the sake of the record keeping in the item, so is that a motion to direct staff to return with an item at the next meeting with immediate, plans for the parcel?
yeah,
for the summer?
to manage dust, provide parking for the pool, and do inexpensive beautification projects.
Or anything that could be achieved in the short term.
Yeah,
And temporary, to just make it look temporary.
anything that could be achieved by like May 1st that achieves the goals we just laid out.
I am writing this down for you, Wendy.
Dust reduction, parking for the pool, aesthetically pleasing. There you go. Not it.
And the item coming back to you is just what staff's plan would be
Yeah.
in order to accomplish those goals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think we can accomplish them,
Yeah,
but I can bring back,
yeah, I think.
maybe
it's
you need a budgetary funding as well and things like that.
I don't know how much
Well, I
spending to make it
what's
look
being
not
requested is that, just for the sake of time, I believe it's a motion to direct staff to return at the next meeting with immediate, factors that you're gonna be putting in place with consideration to dust, parking, and beautification. And then, the item would be, information and then discussion and direction if council at that time would like to direct you to do anything more or less.
Perfect.
And then we can do a budget adjustment at that time based off of their recommendation. And then if we ask them to do more, obviously that would have to come back for another budget adjustment.
Absolutely. And you got to remember the allocation for the work so far was the Public Works building. That is no longer a justifiable allocation. So that's the only reason.
Right. Does
But
that-
if you want to get to work early and it's not expensive, by all means, it's your authority.
And I'll send you my summary. And then going back to the item at hand, it sounds like we're in general agreeance to do a ad hoc committee of 2 council members. I will put together a resolution for our next meeting for approval based off of the input that I've heard so far. We will have the ability to amend that resolution to change the charge of that committee if something looks off at the next meeting. And then, I'll also put an item for the appointment of which 2 of us would be on that. Does that sound good for the next meeting?
I'm actually ready to move quicker. I don't mind ratifying it at the next meeting, but if we want to do a selection and the 2 council members can begin working with staff on the short-term plan as well, let's just be efficient. It's a very small project by city standards. I do not want to serve on this committee as much as it's a fun project.
I volunteer as tribute.
I also volunteer as tribute.
All right. All right, we will confirm that at the next meeting, so there's no vote on that. That is all tentative, so if you all change your minds, that is a doable thing for the next meeting. Does that sound okay? All right,
Yes.
cool. We will move on to the other item that I think more people want to talk about. Item J2, Downtown Creek Water Tank Overflow Discussion. And I believe this is a continuance from your last meeting, which I was not in attendance at. I was out of town. And so I will let someone else take it away to give context to what happened last time.
Yes, so it was just tabled from last time, which is also just kind of a tabling from prior times. So I'm looking at Councilmember Sebring or Vice Mayor Sebring to see if there is anything that you want to particularly cover at the moment. So I'll just give maybe like a 1-minute overview of the entire project, and then you can ask your questions, and then we can move from there, because that's how I'm seeing this. So, right, so the idea, the concept, the item was essentially, we had a tank that constantly overflowed. State required us to chlorinate the water. In order to do that, we were not able to constantly overflow. So then we built a new tank that stopped that overflow. So now there's no
And
more.
we don't chlorinate our water except in emergencies.
Correct.
Very
State
good.
mandated
Very good distinction.
emergencies.
Emergency, yes. For any kind of emergency chlorination, we now have the ability to do that, right, with this new tank. So that's the basic gist of the item. Then it was kind of some public noticing to say, we like the overflow. And then there's some discussions on whether there's looking into the actual system in which the water used to flow and all that. We haven't done an in-depth look at the storm drain appurtenances. So that's an informational item there. So I'll stop there for a moment and then see if that kind of gives it a good idea of what at least council.
And I
in
think the
particular.
other background to the item too, is that during the process of the planning phase, they had to go through CEQA, and during the CEQA process, both Department of Water Resources and the California Department of Fish and Wildlife commented on the document. That, and you can go take a look at the initial study. They basically stated that overflows within the system, which is essentially unused water right by the city of Dunsmuir, they prefer any overflow or unused water right to proceed through the system naturally, which is Mossbury Falls. So essentially, when our water overflows from where it comes out of the volcanic tube, that overflow, so any water right we're not using to give domestic water to the residents and businesses, overflows over Mossbury Falls and enters the Sacramento River at that point. There was a group of residents, and they're the same residents who are concerned about, and I know they get upset at me for saying drainage ditch, but that's what it is currently listed as. Essentially, they were upset with the drainage ditch no longer having the overflow in it. And so they did talk to the council at that time, which would have been around like 2016, 2015 that they were doing that, a little bit off by a year or so. And essentially the council at that point put a valve in as part of the project where they could open it and allow some water to overflow at the time. In a request to DWR and CDFW to have it open 24/7, the state essentially said, no, we prefer any overflow and unused water to go over Mossbury Falls back into the natural system. Because again, CDFW did not designate the drainage ditch as an actual creek or a natural waterway. But that is part of that discussion piece that's in the environmental documents. So.
Yeah, I can add two little pieces to help with context. One is in the final build out of the tank, there was not a valve, is not a valve. One could be installed, but there's currently not a valve. So work would have to happen in order to make this possible.
I'm sorry. I thought the council had
Well,
moved to put a valve in,
no,
but maybe it did not get added.
And I would just specify that there is times where you do need to drain the tank. So we
Well,
have.
there is the ability to
the
drain.
tank.
It doesn't drain into the seasonal creek that is also our storm drain.
Well, we use the same system to
We
drain
can.
too.
Yeah.
So that the outflow of the current tank will move in the same path as prior.
Downstream, but yeah. The second point, to provide context, since 2016, when this is before I was on council, before the mayor was on council, but since then, the state has become far more restrictive with accounting for your water leakage.
Correct.
And they treat this, if it's unmetered, if it's not part of your water customers, they treat it like it's a failure in your system that's losing water because no other city, very few other cities can afford to just have hundreds of gallons, be flowing down. So the state doesn't really recognize this whole like open faucet thing. It needs to be accounted for within our system correctly. So another issue to keep in mind as we discuss this.
Can I have a,
Yeah.
I have a couple things. First off, I know there is a lot of support in the community for this. In Madalena's, when I talked to part of the new ownership group, the first question they asked me when they found out I was on city council is, when does the water feature get turned on? And in my head, that's ever since I had that conversation, that's just kind of what I'm thinking of this now is as a water feature. And I think part of this is I think part of our conversation needs to be, is it better if we just transition this away from overflow, leak, to thinking of having this as a water feature? And I actually have a couple questions for the city attorney, if, David, if you're available. So my first question is, because right now, basically this is tap water that's just being put into a channel that benefits primarily several, and it has a historical context which benefits the entire town. But it, on a functional day-to-day basis, it benefits primarily a couple of residences and several businesses through its aesthetics features. Another concern I have is that someone could look at this as a gift of public funds by us giving out tap water for free to run a water feature. So that was kind of concern number one, that I was just wondering if potentially you could weigh in on, if it could be considered that.
The mayor called me about some agenda item and gave me a very brief background of this item. As you all know, and way better than I do, that water rights in California are very tricky. So I would decline to give an opinion tonight based on the very limited information I have. I mean, as you already said, there is some history behind this. And as a good attorney, I think I'd want to look through all of that history before I give an opinion. I think your points are well taken. I think they're good questions. I would not venture to even give an educated guess at this point. There's just so much going on, and we're dealing with state agency. I want to kind of see what this, but I understand what you're asking, and I think it's an answer. But it takes some time to lift some things. I mean, not like weeks and months. We're just talking like I need to sit down for a bit of a different.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, water rights are really.
That was the other one. And then just the other piece of context, for the record, I am supportive of the water feature and getting water flowing through it in some manner. But the other thing we do need to consider is that we do have a fiduciary responsibility as well to the community, and that there have been several times where, say, someone has dumped a bunch of leaves or other green waste into
Or
it.
kerosene.
Or kerosene, and it has either sparked a concern from a pollution point, or when the large amount of green waste was dumped in, and this has happened several times, it has blocked up one of the drains and then flooded someone's house, and it was an insurance claim. So by getting water flowing back through it, these are just concerns that we need to have, and if there isn't a way we can address them at the time, we need to make sure that we are doing that as well. So that's the context I would like to add to this.
So, did you have any questions?
Well, so my main question is, in the winter, if,
No, we're gonna go through questions. We were just giving context for the issue. We will go to the public comment after. I'm gonna ask you one time to please, no peanut gallery. Thank you.
in the winter, water flows through it still, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so whether we do an inspection of the system or not, water flows through the system. Irregardless.
Correct.
Okay, that's just where I always was a little confused on why we would not move forward with figuring out what to do with it before we inspected the system, when either way water flows through it at some point. So no matter what, we should figure something out, I guess
Yeah.
is my
Yeah, we do have an application to one of our CDBG projects is a storm drain plan because we do not have one for any of the storm drains that we
Okay,
have within the
so
city.
that's, I guess that's one of my main like
Yeah,
questions.
and you'll
is
remember.
Water does flow through it.
It was the
throughout
woman,
the year,
the
off
woman,
and on.
the woman from Great Northern, she came and we approved a CDBG grant. I think it was just after you guys came on council and we were unsuccessful and we just re-upped it. I think she was here a few months ago.
Yep.
Trying for it again.
Okay.
No, I like your point, but I think I'll save that for discussion.
Any other questions? Okay. Questions, contact?
Nope.
Okay. All right, Dwight. This is open for public comment. If you have a public comment related to the Downtown Creek water tank overflow discussion, you can approach the podium or raise your hand on Zoom and you will have 3 minutes.
Couple of things. I want to tell the parable of the hangman and the crawdad. And that is, in the old days, and we've all watched the movies on TV, where if somebody stole your horse, you strung him up. No law. That was the law. Water rights in California are very much the same way. But at some point, society grew. And when society grew, it was no longer admissible just to kill a man because he took your horse. But if you put crawdads in somebody's pond, what the crawdads do is they burrow in as deep as they can, and they ultimately let the water out of the pond. That was considered by justice and society that you were not only trying to just kill the person, you were trying to kill his entire family. You were, furthermore, you were trying to kill all the plant life around. So you were killing the environment at the same time. So it became common knowledge that if somebody put crawdads in your pond, yes, you could string them up. This council, the existing council, the council has taken away the water right flow of this natural creek. Understand that Dunsmuir is here. That was the livery stable because they had fresh horse water for their horses. So at this point, somebody's already put crawdads in our pond. You guys get to decide what you're going to do with that. You know, either crawdads.
which we should,
Probably in about 2 months.
it should be about July.
Yeah.
So I guess I really want it to flow in the summer when it's lower because people want community. I totally understand that and appreciate it. There's really just a couple I guess stopped us as a council over the years from different people have their different opinions. I personally hold that it is a natural waterway of sorts. Now has to go somewhere. It is a storm drain. The worry is the increased flow during the summer leads to increased liability theoretically for the city. And then I'm also concerned about the idea of not metering it or having it as part of our water system, because you can't, like, the owners that have come up and talked about it, both in public comment and to me personally, talk about how they're losing all this value to their property if it doesn't flow. And if you study the houses in particular, you know, it's short-term rentals that are booked more often. If it's there, there's very few places where this stream, seasonal stream, storm drain, actually daylights. It's actually under a lot of the buildings it goes under completely. So it pops on Sacramento Avenue, at Madalena's. The only public places that you can see it on private property. Whether we'd love a stream in the middle of Dunsmuir daylighted is a much broader discussion for a different day. I'm supportive if we can do it. We're not doing that now. Yeah. So I have serious concerns about the idea of us having, directing our public policy to provide a public gift or a private gift of public funds, in the sense that no other water user gets water without paying, including some wonderful nonprofits that help us with the community garden, including the Parks and Recreation with the pool. It's very firm the way the water rules work. It's a separate enterprise. So I guess I have two concerns. One would be, is there a way to mitigate liability if the property owners want this? A way for them to not sue us if there's increased flow during the time when we have it flowing? And two, is there a way to make sure this isn't a public gift of private funds? Can we integrate them into the water system as a ratepayer? It can be a different class of ratepayer, so that any residential usage is a higher priority, so that maybe the Castle Rock is still a higher priority. In other words, it's like lowest priority, maybe an affordable rate, but some system where we address that issue of public, or a gift of public goods to private individuals, landowners. And then if we can just potentially mitigate the liability from the insurance claim. So we may have solved a crime that may not have been the property owner's responsibility. But Blake, can you confirm that the city paid out on the claim when the creek backed up?
I don't
This was
remember
some
the
years ago.
specific one that.
Yeah, several
that you're
times it's happened.
Referring to,
Okay.
but if there was a claim and we were supposed to pay, then we paid.
Yeah. So, it's because it is our, I mean, I really agree with you, Councilwoman Sebring, because it's not like it's going anywhere. It's our infrastructure. It's already a liability. The question is, do we take on a lot more liability by having so much water flow in the summer? It already does in the winter. But I would like to see a system where it flows from like May 1st to October 30th or something like that. And it has a meter, and the group that want it pay us, reduced rate for it if we have it available. And most often we're blessed to have it available at this stage of our time in Dunsmuir. So I don't know.
I think Councilmember Clarno actually does, you do have the correct vernacular. I don't know if you know that or not, but there is such a thing within the water regulations on special water features. The only thing with the special water feature such as that, where it is metered and it comes out of a system like that and it's not self-circulating, is that if you consider it that if we go into drought conditions, it has to get shut off. It is mandated to be shut off. So for those who don't know, special water features like fountains is the easy one to think of. If it's self-circulating with the water that's in it, you can keep it on during drought conditions because theoretically there is no additional water added. Granted, evaporation happens and they don't account for that. But if it is one that is pulling water from the system, circulating and putting that water into a drain, that has to be turned off because it's then using water. So there is a special water feature aspect to that, but that water rights are really, really complex in terms of, what age the water right is, if it's pre-1914 or not, that's a big deal. if it's a riparian right versus a domestic water right, what other types of rights or claims that we have on there if they've been adjudicated. So there are a lot of legal questions around this. And so I'm curious what the council's appetite is for spending money on the city attorney's firm to look into this, because it can be expensive to look into this it's a very specialized type of law, and there are very few people that I understand practice it.
This would be my advice. Let's not focus on the water rights side of it, because that's, our position is, there were not water rights created by the overflow of our tank.
Well,
That-
it wasn't water, right? It was considered the
Yeah.
excess that we were not using.
Yeah, so
So it is
going
different.
forward, I don't see why we couldn't just the legal research I think we need to do is how we can classify them as a different tier users. They don't have to pay the full water rate for something that's not quite their water. They already have a separate water rate. And then,
Well, they don't have a water right. We have the water right.
no, I mean,
Rate. Oh, sorry.
rate,
Rate.
Right, I think we have the water right at Moss Spray. Spilling it here is a choice, Moss Spray Springs, our
Yep.
water supply. I'm more interested in just how we can not charge them the normal residential rate, which is quite expensive, to facilitate this.
If you can do it.
If we can do that, and then if we could potentially have a recorded release of liability for our flow, for the additional flow, for these property owners. I don't know.
Water feature rate, your water feature.
Special water.
Right.
Water feature path. Because in the end, it is that water, and if you have to turn it off during your drought, we all know like droughts don't affect our water supply.
Mhm.
But if that's what we have to do in order to make this work, I think that the community and those individuals
Yeah.
will understand that, like, that, hey, it is a drought, it is mandated that we can no longer continue to put water through the system until the drought is over. I'm perfectly fine with that, and I think that that's something that, while it's not their ideal situation, I believe that those individuals would at least be accepting of.
Mhm.
And I think that that is potentially a good solution for the city, it's a good solution for those individuals. And that is my preferred way to move forward. And if we have to turn it off during drought conditions, we have to turn it off during drought conditions.
Well,
I
and
guess you're getting away from the question at hand, which is we do not have budget for legal counsel on this item. So what is the appetite of the council members in terms of authorizing the city attorney to look into the matter?
How much does he have to look into?
So I'll probably defer to David here in terms of costing this out and like how much research you would have to do on this. What would you need from us to be able to give us a number?
Can I ask one question?
So one thing I would recommend, is, and Blake and I have talked about this before, is we have a project like this where you want me to look at it, you can say, we're gonna give you all the documentation, you're gonna look at it, and we want you to stop after X number of hours. And then report back to the city manager or the mayor, whoever you designate, and give us a report. And then we'll decide if we need you to do the further work. And that sort of helps me understand, exactly how much you want to pay, and I'm fine doing that. So you can just say, don't spend more than an hour. When you get to an hour, I want to know what you've done. And then, you can say, that
Well,
took you an hour. Why did that take you an hour? You should have been able to do that in 10 minutes. I mean, I have no ego at all. And I'm very mindful of these talks you hired me, cost and time efficiency was a big thing. And I take that very seriously. So, I think that's the best case here is I think someone else can gather up all the documentation, send it to me so that I have everything. And then we meet tonight or whenever you like and say, here's your limit, right? Here's your meter, and then stop for it. I think based on what I've heard, you all saying, if the question is just, is it with the public funds and then can we, provide water to residents? I think that should not take too long. And I agree that even though I'm being careful in answering, Councilman McFarland's questions, because I'm an attorney, the fact that this is kind of a tank that the city has already been gathering with water and it's been overflowing. And from what I read in the summary, the state said you got to chlorinate it. I think the ownership issue is sort of set. So I don't think I'm going to have to start putting back into the deeds in 1914. I think it's just a question that, and Councilmember Ryan said is, can you provide the water to residents? Number one, through the gift of public funds, if they can just use it, and if it is a gift of public funds, what rate would need to be established to provide it? That, I don't think should put you through.
Councilmember Clarno and then Councilmember Bryan.
So I'm just going to tack on to something Councilmember Bryan said earlier. I think also before we ask the city attorney to look into anything, we need to know what we're looking into, because in my opinion, this is less of a question on water, on looking into water rights. It's a question on who pays for the, who is paying for the water that is being released into the system. Is that every single water ratepayer in the city? Is that the residences and businesses along the creek? And if it is the residents and businesses along the creek, how is that structured? And that's a much, and how do we make that change? If we can do that, and how we make that change happen. And I think that that is a much tighter question. If it's organized as a special water feature and there is a special water feature rate that is reduced, because it also does have some community benefit associated with it as well. You know, we're not asking them to pay for the regular, the price of just leaving a tap open. How that could happen, how it's structured, how that fee would come along, and then how it would be implemented. A special district, but that would require, you know, is the obvious solution, but that would require a vote from the property, or a vote from the property owners. There,
This will have to go through a Prop 218
Yeah.
process regardless, because you're
Yes.
establishing a rate.
Yep. But the first thing that would need to happen would be that if that happened, would be a district, or a formation of a district of the affected property owners, potentially.
You're asking for a lot.
I know.
Yeah, this is
But-
where,
but
I want to keep it
the-
simple.
But that's where the legal aspect might come in handy. So I'd be much more, because that's a lot of work that I just mentioned out.
You are asking
And-
for a lot. That's why I'm going back to the original
and that's-
question of what is the appetite
Yeah.
of the council?
And
for
so-
how much money you want to
So
spend.
that's where I was going back to, that's where I'd be more interested to see any money spent with the city attorney is that the way to do it, or is there an easier way to do it? That
I'm
would
going
be
to go
appropriate.
to Councilmember Bryan.
Yeah.
I've thought a lot about this, including the whole district thing, which could have solved it years ago. That's just too much effort for what this is. The property owners really want it because it benefits them primarily. The community likes it because there's 3 businesses we can go see it in. And I'm one of them. I think we should try to find the shortest path to it flowing this summer without putting a burden on all of our other ratepayers who pay the same rate and don't get free aesthetic water, feature water. So we need that accounted for. And then this is more just if we can, because we have easements, we have the right to go through these properties for our storm drain. But I would like to minimize the liability from the extra flow if possible. So the second question, David, it would be what sort of maybe recordable agreement that these property owners could enter into, because they're asking for the extra water, that it would only be arising from the extra flow. So if there was a flood while we had extra flow, that would be something that they've opted into, because it can be a liability issue to have water running under buildings.
But if, just to clarify, it did until it was shut off, run through those buildings year round.
It did year round, including in the winter when it's more likely to cause damage.
So that they are like, it used to happen for them, so it wouldn't be something entirely.
Nope, no, but it did cause claims though, I guess I should add.
So going back to my original question, how much money?
10 hours.
No.
No, come back to us with
This is like a 40-hour at least to look into. I mean, I started with 40 hours and then just based off of everyone's conversation, I upped it to 120. If you want every single question you have answered, or at least like the majority of the questions, so I have
we want
liability,
help
much
streamlining how to do what we want to do, which is have the water flow.
So, but that's different from what Councilmember Clarno has asked for. So one of you
I-
better.
No,
do
I
it.
want,
I'm down for streamlining is what I want.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, I want to find a better way to do it.
So gentlemen,
And-
I'm sorry, you're gonna have to take the conversation into the hallway
Yeah.
just because it echoes this way. and People would like to listen.
No, I'm also in for streamlining. I think that that might be the way it has to be done, but if there is an easier way to do it, I am all for that.
Okay.
I don't,
so-
I don't need to look into every single option if there is an easiest option.
So the definition of easy is very different based off of the different factors you've all asked questions on. So I'm gonna go and just say probably 40 hours is where you want to start.
If that's like, we have an agreement to sign and we're good, yeah, I think that's the low. I'm talking about, it comes back to council.
Yeah,
David tells us about roadblocks, directions. You can do this, you can't do this, provide further direction. That's more,
yeah, that's probably gonna be at least 40 hours worth of work.
well, let's let David say that.
I mean, again, you've asked a lot of questions. But yeah, go ahead, David, you can go for it.
I'll be honest, I was thinking like 10, but maybe I'm too
You want
confident
10?
in my abilities. I'm gonna get there and be like, there's a lot of work. I feel more
8 to 10.
comfortable, but I'm being very honest with you all. I know where you are. I know, I've gotten to know you all. I've, visited a couple times. I've worked with you now. It'll be a year in May. I'm comfortable doing it in 10-hour increments and just checking in with Blake after 10 hours, or roughly 10-hour-ish. And then if I get to 40, definitely bringing in the more details. But I'm okay checking in with Blake every 10 hours from what we do. And I may be grossly underestimating. Like I may go talk to our water guys and they're like, "Oh, crazy, can't do this for 40 hours." But let me talk to them first. And so if you're okay with that, I think a cap 40 is fine, but I'm gonna check in on my own with Blake every 10 hours. And then if you can all restate, it doesn't need to be a formal motion, but restate exactly what you're asking me. Because I've heard a lot in there, I've gotten multiple notes and I want to make sure I'm capturing what you're asking me specifically.
Here's what I have, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. So it's a motion to authorize the city attorney to research the downtown creek water tank overflow in terms of the most efficient process to have the water flowing again, addressing the liability around the water flowing, and not to exceed 40 hours with a requirement of 10-hour check-ins. That is the most succinct way I can put the
I think-
general theme.
I think it's good. It's only missing the, like, 218 law and all that.
Well, we will, that's a whole nother bag of worms, or like can of
No, it's not.
worms, but-
It's the way to
Well, yeah.
do it.
Yeah, well, you'd have to do a rate study and all that fun stuff.
No,
so
no,
it's
Not,
gonna
not
be more
doing
murky.
it, but assess that that is what would need to be done in order to execute, essentially.
Anyway, we will get to that bridge when we get to it. I think this is the best you can start at without spending an exorbitant amount of money looking into this fully. So, all right, that is the motion that I have. Does anyone want to make that motion?
I will make that motion.
All right, motion by Councilmember Bryan. Second?
I'll second.
There's a second by Vice Mayor Sebring. David, I will send you what I have for the documentation that I have on that. But staff, if you can send your stuff too. All right, we'll go through a roll call vote since it is going to expend funds.
Councilmember Clarno,
Aye.
Councilmember Bryan,
Aye.
Councilmember Hubbard,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Sebring,
Aye.
Mayor Lucchese.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you. And I do want to come back to the inspection because we did not have any action or direction on that item. I think what would probably be best for us is if you could follow up with the city council with an email with information on if any budget was expended, what that budget number was. And then that way, if it's still in the budget, I think staff has already been authorized to move forward with the inspection. But if for some reason we don't have that in the budget or it's not enough, we can bring it back and adjust it. But I think the general direction is that we would like it inspected still. Is that okay?
Definitely okay. Is there any kind of outcome from this inspection? Or the purpose of the inspection
I believe
is?
stated in the meeting, but go ahead, Vice Mayor Sebring.
It was to inspect the integrity of the system to allow the water to flow.
Correct.
But I guess like back to my point that I made before, the water flows irregardless. So I guess it's to see if it's still safe to have it flow, but
Continuously, I think is what it was.
right.
So do you want to wait on the inspection?
I think-
aspect, or would you like to not?
It's a 100-year-old system and we're gonna need it inspected
Mhm.
some point anyways. And I'd much rather have it inspected now so that way we can fix anything that's wrong with it versus inspected because something has gone wrong with it. And I know that was Dennis's main thing.
Yeah.
I believe, Dennis, I believe, was the main one pushing for
he wanted
the
to-
inspection, the safety inspection. And this is mainly to satisfy, the inspection is mainly to satisfy Dennis,
Yes.
as far as I can remember. So I'm still completely in favor of continuing.
Well,
on it.
and to provide context, as far as I know, it never flows naturally
Correct.
at the rate it does when we put water through it.
Great.
Correct.
So it's like triple the amount
Okay.
of water.
So I think council's already given direction on this item. I think we're still in favor of that direction. So I don't believe we need to make another motion because we've already directed you guys to go do it. So unless you need more money to do it, I think you have green light to go do it.
Awesome.
Okay,
Love it.
cool. Are we okay on this item?
Yes.
Mhm.
Are we okay on bodily functions? Do we need a break?
I would like a 10-minute recess.
All right, we will take a 10-minute recess beginning at 7:24. Be back at 7:34, right?
So.
Yes, okay, I got it. Oh, no, it's working. I just, for some reason, my brain wanted to call Wendy Emily for some reason, and I was like, nope, not that. I think it's like Emily Blunt, like Peter Pan, Wendy, like for some reason my brain went English. Sorry.
Okay, we're ready to go. Just remember to turn on your microphones if you want to speak.
All right. Are we recording? All right, great. I will return the City Council of the City of Dunsmuir to order at 7:35 PM and move us into new business. First item on new business is K1, adoption of resolution 2026-05 to submit the housing element annual progress report to the California Department of Housing and Community Development. And we have Gary with us today. Thank you for sticking with us, Gary.
Very complex topics, and you're taking care of it. That's a lot of work for little acknowledgement. Jessica sends her regards. I've been working with her for the last couple of years and supporting her with the Dunsmuir project, and it's really so, you know, it's kind of a disappointment that she's taken a job with another town I'm working with as well. But she asked me to step in and cover this item. I did prepare the annual housing report last year and for the state. And then what she did was something a little bit more local oriented and looked at all the general plan policies that run the gamut from land use to circulation. And I think that's really useful to do every year or so, particularly with the Planning Commission and you all, to kind of identify things we need to fulfill, particularly with the state, the way they are looking at housing statutes, and you know, making sure we're in good shape with our grants. That, you know, like you mentioned, CDBG is a good example. If you want to be eligible for CDBG, you have to have a adequate housing element that's been certified by the state, and that you are, you know, basically annually reporting the progress of that. And I'm sure the mayor knows that better than anybody here. So every April 1st, we're supposed to have the report to HCD and what used to be OPR, but it's the Governor's Office of Land Use and Innovation. And the major report is in a Excel format that's really hard to circulate for public review. So the meat of that is I think it's attachment 2, and it summarizes what we've accomplished. And so I'd like to maybe just go through that. Let me find it. Let's see, that would be. So anyway, that really the last year's review with Jessica identified a huge number of programs and goals and policies in our general plan. And we've basically summarized it here. She asked me to just reiterate those. I don't know if I need to go into those in much detail. I know it's a long meeting. I'm going to really try to make this quick. But it's attachment C, exhibit C, attachment 1. And it's basically the 2025 Housing Element Annual Progress Report. It identifies all the different programs, over about 25, that Dunsmuir has and how we've been doing. And some of the responses and the program objectives is that if we've been pursuing and adequately covering implementation. And more recently, in the last year or two, the state has developed this accountability department, and they're really going after a lot of little agencies like Lyleton, for example, because they haven't completed a lot of things that needed to be done. So a couple of things that we have accomplished in terms of our housing element is the resolution for reserving water and sewer for lower income folks. We have a REIN of 3 units that we're supposed to have built an ability to provide capacity for those low income units. And within the 8-year cycle of the housing element, I think we're in the 5th cycle, we're supposed to show that we can provide adequate capacity for that. So we did adopt a resolution for that. We also adopted a separate resolution that I helped build, which was a no net loss. And that basically says that if we do lose low income housing units that are identified in our housing element for sites, that we have to make sure that we've adequately rezoned property for that. So we've got those 2 accomplishments done. We were supposed to have initiated a zoning code update to address a number of housing statutes that have happened, particularly in the last year. For example, HCD is asking for a lot of pretty much everybody. I am surprised that Dunsmuir hasn't received the letter, but there's a letter that basically is going around that says you have to update all of your accessory dwelling unit regulations and to meet the requirements by the end of 2025. So, I've been doing a lot of zoning code updates for agencies for that. And I think we were supposed to have started that last year and finish it in 2027. So that's something that's kind of identified as something we need to think about doing because we don't want to get dinged by HCD. Overall, we're in good shape. There's not a lot of RENA, which is our regional housing allocation needs number, which I mentioned was 3. And so we would ask that you open this, first of all, answer any questions that you have, of course, but then open this item up for public comment, consider any public comments that you have, and adopt the resolution. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Gary? Seeing none, we'll open this up for public comment. If you'd like to come and make a public comment on the annual housing progress report, you may approach the podium and have 3 minutes to comment on the item. If you are on Zoom, you may raise your hand or press star 9. Coming up? Okay.
I think it's on page 25 or 26 of your thing. It talks about the Travelers Hotel. And I think at the time it included 31 units that were scheduled to be built there. It also made a comment in there that said something about staff has worked with them discussing affordable housing units. I don't know much about that discussion. I haven't heard of that discussion, but it also pointed out, I think, that we gave that permit, the planning commission to the commission, and year about, I think 2000 it mentions the year 2000. So I'm assuming it was there. I did not look. And in that, when we did that, where am I going with that? When we did that, we gave them, they were going to rebuild it in 3 years. We came back and were informed that the state tells us a project of that size has to be, once you give a permit of that size out, you cannot renege it for 6 years. They had asked for 2 years. So that's a total of 5 years. We're in the year 2006. I don't know if I would like to know whether that contract is still valid or not, but I don't believe that the segment that talks about the travelers in there in relationship to housing, I'm not sure that, as I see it, it's not, I'd never heard a discussion of low income housing with that. And it was for condos. It actually mentions it in there. And it was supposed to be for condos and people from San Francisco could buy a condo up here. So I don't know that that's changed. I do know that once it was sold from the one people there that I talked to one city council member, he said they were still going to try to go along with as much of that plan as they could. So I'd like to know the status of that plan, in essence of that, but I believe that there needs to be, I'm asking you to look at that section in there and make a decision how if it reads right. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment related to this item?
We do have a response to that, Mayor.
Just a second, Gary.
Yes, please.
So just a second, or any other public comment? Seeing none, we'll close into discussion. Gary, do you want to comment on that item?
Yeah, I think that was in part of the bigger picture stuff with the report that Jessica put together. The actual report that we're going to be submitting to the state doesn't talk about the Travelers Hotel. And we can certainly make that correction for the purpose of local knowledge. So that's just my comment.
Yeah, this is just my position. I wouldn't change the report. The report is very specific what you have to list. And typically with housing units, you have to list what was built and what permits were issued in terms of building permits. And so those items would not necessarily be listed, but it's up to the council how you want to do that. Are there any questions, discussion? This is an annual item that we are required to do. We are required to submit it before April 1st. So I would prefer if we could decide on something tonight, but it's up to the council.
I would defer to our planner, Gary's response.
My thing is the decision that we've made thus far, is my understanding, was a tentative parcel map related to the documentation of the building itself. And then I believe there was a discussion on moving, there may have been a conditional use permit wrapped in there because they wanted to move 2 housing units to the base level to meet ADA requirements and have 2 ADA units, which isn't allowed in the downtown zoning at that time that it was approved and required a CUP. So that was the decisions that were made around that, which makes sense on the 2-year expiration on that. That is what I am gleaming from the public comment. So it's fragmented information, but that's my understanding. But again, the purpose of the report is to report out what programs in the housing element, what programs in the general plan that we have accomplished in the last year, and then the issued and completed or final building permits for housing units. So my recommendation would be not to change it, just because it's not necessarily pertinent to what the state needs. But up to everybody else.
Yeah, just to clarify, Mayor, the table I mentioned didn't even mention the travelers report. So the report that we will be submitting to the state will just simply be that table and then all the data that goes along with it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Mike. Good catch. So when what goes to the state, the travelers is or is not mentioned?
It wouldn't be, that part would not be mentioned in the report.
Yeah. Right.
So do I hear a motion to adopt resolution 2026-05 to submit the housing element annual progress report to the California Department of Housing and Community Development?
I so move.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, motion by Councilmember Clarina, second by Councilmember Hubbard. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll be sharing this with the Planning Commission, just as information item.
All right,
So
thank you.
this is nice to see you all.
Nice to
Good
see you.
night.
Nice to see you too.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
All right, we'll move into item K2, which is adoption of resolution 2026-06, approving a list of projects from the SB1 tax monies.
All right, this is a repeat from every year we do this thing. So it's a resolution to spend gas tax monies. So these are project list. And it must be a street or road purpose. So in the resolution on page 56 of your packet, I've left blank a new project because I want to hear from anybody for a new project. We are also going to revisit or redo projects that you see. So the current projects that are on the
I have a new project idea once you get done.
Okay.
With the spiel.
Thanks for your clarifying question there. So the project we have right now is crack seal throughout city limits. We do specify a few project locations there. Then the next one is a pedestrian safety project up by the trail for Hedge Creek Falls to put in those flashy pedestrian sign things. So those are the two projects that staff have wanted to do. And then also just for clarification, anything you put on this resolution does not have to be done.
It's just what's
If-
eligible.
It's just what's eligible. What we could do, we can still, if there's a huge pothole on Dunsmuir Avenue, we can use these monies to fix that, even though it's not on this resolution. So I just want to throw that out there. But we do like to hear from council, from the public on projects, fund projects in order to put on there. So that's the reason for this item.
Thank you. Are there any clarifying questions? And then we'll go to public comment and then you can talk about your project.
There's not.
discussion. Questions? And just for the edification of everyone here, the monies we're projected to get from the sales tax in 26-27 is $47,784. So that's what we're getting. It's not a lot.
Won't go that far.
Yeah. So, which is unfortunate, but at least having these on the list means like that they can be considered. So we do want to accept projects from the public. And so I'll open this up for public comment now. If you would like to make a comment on the list of approved projects for SB1 gas tax monies, please approach the podium. You'll have 3 minutes, or you can raise your hand on Zoom. You will also have 3 minutes. Oh, hey, we do have a taker. Ryan Fantini.
Hi, yeah. I heard the talk of flashy signs in front of the Moss Bear Falls. I was hoping to talk about getting one put in front of the park in downtown Dunsmuir near the supermarket.
All right, thank you. All right, any other public comment on potential projects for gas tax money? All right, seeing none, we'll close public comment and come back into projects. We'll start with Councilmember Clarno since you had a suggestion.
I do. So at the intersection of Dunsmuir Avenue and Florence Loop, ever since Dollar General went in, there is a large amount of people who cross the street there as the current city side, or the current sidewalk is on the west side of the property, or the west side of Dunsmuir Avenue. There is no sidewalk on the eastern side of Dunsmuir Avenue there. So everyone's on the sidewalk on the west side. They cross the street to get over to Florence Loop, to go over to Dollar General. There's currently no crosswalk or anything along those lines, so everyone is just, and it's around
Yes,
that corner.
please do not cross there right now.
Huh?
Correct. Please do
Yeah.
not cross there right now.
And everyone is. So finding some kind of solution to that, whether it be, like you said, the little someone's crossing here lights button that someone could push on a crosswalk, something to improve pedestrian safeway or safety at that point. A roundabout would be the best option, but I know that that could not be put in that amount of money.
I believe that there are suggestions in the active transportation plan for that intersection that maybe meet that. So maybe what we can do is identify those projects related in the ATP to be added to this. For those of you who have a phone or an electrical device, if you could please mute them, I'd appreciate it. So that is one of the projects. I do like the suggestion for a flasher for pedestrians over by the supermarket and post office, and potentially even at the crosswalk by the bus stop and children's park. That may be another one as well. At night, that one is very, very dark.
Yeah.
And so if we could please add those 2 projects.
Ooh, as long as we're talking about it, a lot of people cross the street at the top of Pine Street on that steep hill. I don't believe there's a crosswalk there right now. And I think the encouragement is to be on the west side, you know.
Please be on the west side. Yep.
But
Yeah.
people very often, especially at night, cross on that side. So I don't know if we want to look at that as well. But
Yeah, again, we can take a look at the ATP. It would have looked at that intersection for pedestrian infrastructure, so maybe we'll just grab those.
Sure, grab whatever that said.
Okay.
Just put it
Well, I
out,
know this
a
also.
lot of people cross that.
Speaking of the ATP, any money that could go towards some raised crosswalks through the downtown would be.
Again, I gotta bring the ATP back for implementation. It's on my list. It just got put on a back burner because I am a volunteer and
Yep.
human and need to sleep at some point in my life. Crosswalk Main Street. All right, so we have the addition of the flashers by the post office supermarket. We have the flashers at the crosswalk at Children's Park. And then we have crosswalk / pedestrian infrastructure at Florence Loop and Dunsmuir Avenue and Pine Street, which, by the way, the Florence Loop and Dunsmuir Avenue, I think, is in here under the pedestrian safety project. It's included with the Mott Road and Mossbury Falls stuff.
Cool.
So, but yeah, so those would be the 4 projects with the Florence Loop maybe pulled out of the pedestrian safety project as its own pedestrian safety project, if that makes sense. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so those are the 4 additions that we are collectively in agreement on. Are there any other projects to mention?
So one point of clarification, because where's Sheriff's Hill? Right here?
I think
Is this Sheriff's Hill?
I think
Okay, cool.
Congratulations.
Good to know.
Yeah.
There you go. You have your own hill now.
All right.
It was Ortiz Hill,
I was like-
then we made it Sheriff's.
I know Blackberry Hill, I know Blacksmith Hill. Where's Sheriff's Hill?
All right. Seeing no other projects or discussion, is there a motion to adopt resolution 2026-06 approving the amended list of projects for the SB1 tax monies?
I move that we approve resolution 2026-06 approving the amended list of projects from the SB1 gas tax monies.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Motion by Councilmember Clarno, second by Vice Mayor Sebring. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. It's not a roll call because it's not our own money. Got that. All right, we are now into K3, adoption of resolution 2026-07 to approve fee schedule for airport hangar fees.
And that pretty much explains the entirety of the item. So
All right.
it is basically just the
Page 60.
yeah. So we're on hangar fees at the airport. So we are only modifying the ground leases at this point. We feel as staff that the hangar leases currently are at a fair market value. And so we want to leave them alone. But we do want to modify the ground leases. So we have modified that to be more in line with the
What-
entirety of.
What were they before? It doesn't tell us.
It was 2160.
Oh, yeah.
So we increased them by
Cool.
20.
Are there any legal limits to us raising the rents based on agreements with the FAA, Caltrans, et cetera?
Excellent. Okay. No legal things in terms of this schedule,
No, just period.
but then we're not raising the rates for current leases. Was that the question? So we're not, somebody that's currently on the $21, once their lease expires, then they'll go to this 41. Was that the question?
But then when it.
That
comes-
is one of the questions that would be
So
helpful.
going to your question, I think you're asking about these special leases that we give to the Forest Service when they come and they shut it down.
No, I'm more asking, is there any agreement or law that limits the amount by which we can raise rate to current tenants?
Yeah, I believe that there is a specific percentage that we're capped at, but I'm not sure what that percentage is. Hey, David, are you on and available?
I don't know if there's anything like that.
Do you know if there is a cap or a limit in percentage of how much we can raise airport hangar fees?
It would typically be left over from
Ground leases.
Yeah, I do
the
not
hangar
know.
fees.
Find out. Blake, did you have someone on our staff work on this? I don't think you did.
So nobody that we could see where there was stipulations on.
Cool. It's typically the case if you got like a grant, Caltrans had one a while back, to build hangars, but they stipulate you can only raise rents by a certain amount.
I can't
Yes.
remember if it's project specific like that, but I do remember that back in, when we first originally got on council, the rates had not been raised for a number of years. And then when we went to go take them to market value, we were capped at a certain
We were
percentage
back then.
because you couldn't raise it a certain percentage each
Each
couple
year.
of years or
Yeah.
something like that.
So there is in the current lease agreements with
Okay.
those ground leases that you couldn't raise them above a certain
Oh,
amount.
and those were 40-year
But-
leases.
And they were 40-year
Oh.
leases and that.
Okay.
So yeah, so if the lease is in
It's a contract.
discordance.
Yeah.
Does not agree with this Schedule A, we'll leave it with the lease. The lease stays intact.
Okay,
So I'll go back to David. David, I guess your answer was you would need to look at this a little bit more to answer that question. Was that?
Yeah, I know that there was some legislation in 2023 that was trying to clarify ambiguity between FAA rules and California rules, but I thought that had to do with like ground leases over 50 years. But I don't know if there was language in there. What I'm looking for too is the question I asked Blake is whether legal was asked to review this, and I don't think we will. So I don't think we have a chance to look at the issue before it changed. But Blake, did you have someone from our staff look at this?
Oh, no, yeah, I haven't sent it to you guys.
Okay. So if you want to, I don't know if there's a timeliness matter on this. If it needs to be passed today, but if you want us to get that answer, again, I could have it sent out to have somebody do the research.
Okay, we'll wait to make a decision on that until we get to discussion, but are there any more clarifying questions at this point before I go to public comment?
Very quick follow-up on Blake's. You're not proposing to actually raise the rents of the occupied hangars to whatever the raise would be? Just any new ground leases or new?
Right, so that anytime a lease gets renewed or
Do
whatever.
we have any vacancies?
There are some vacancies currently at the airport.
Oh, that's rare.
There's one hangar, I believe.
One hangar. Okay, cool.
Maybe two. I think just one.
All right. Seeing no other questions, we'll move into public comment. Those who would like to make a public comment may approach the podium. You'll have 3 minutes, or you can raise your hand and you can also have 3 minutes on Zoom. And David, you have your video on, but I'm not sure if that means you want to make a comment or not, or if you are, sorry, there's another David. There's two Davids and you're both attorneys. That is so extra confusing. I apologize. All right, cool. All right, I don't see a hand up. I don't see anyone approaching the podium, so I'm going to close public comment and go into discussion. I'm just going to shoot from the hip here that I'd prefer tabling this until legal has had a chance to review it, address your questions. Councilmember Brian, if you could maybe email your specific questions.
Yeah, and I'll put it this way, maybe get some feedback from council. I want to raise the rates higher, not lower. There's been a lot of inflation since 2020. These folks can afford to keep airplanes. The airport is subsidized heavily by the city of Dunsmuir. We really appreciate the subsidies we've received from the federal government, and it's a key to our staying safe in the event of wildfires. But, you know, a lot of rent has gone up since 2020. I think it'd be fairly reasonable to at least give them a 20% bump because we only do it every.
$41.60 is a pretty good deal.
Well, the ground lease is one thing. We don't have a lot of control over theirs. I'm looking at the ones where we provide the entire hangar
Yeah.
to people. You know, if we did 25% increase, it'd be $360 a month. And, you know, we probably won't raise it again for another 6 years because we typically don't move this that often. So, or we just adopt a schedule where it goes up a set amount each year. So we stay with the time, so to speak.
Yeah, I can't remember why we were limited on quite a few things on that.
We seemed really limited when we first got on council.
Yeah. The hangar leases themselves are yearly, so we can revisit.
renewal.
Yeah.
So at renewal, we can revisit that. But this is also just, we've never really looked at the Schedule A in a while, so we wanted to bring it back and.
Thank you. No, it's a
No,
good
I
idea.
appreciate it. I didn't know what they were. It's a
Happy
lot
to
higher
do
than I
more work
remembered.
on it.
Yeah, looks like they're slightly there, but.
41.
All right, seeing no other conversation, discussion, questions, again, we will refer this matter to the city's attorney's office for review and bring it back at a future meeting. Does not have to be the next one, but at least a future one. All right, we'll go on to item K4, Moss Spray Springs Improvement Project Funding Information Only.
Yeah, really information only. I'll keep it quick. I was looking at the iBank financing. Through that process, the requirement was to have on parity with other, so they needed to be on parity. So they needed to be at the same level as other loans that are on the system. So we're talking about the water enterprise, Moss Spray Springs Improvement. So when iBank said they needed to be on parity, I reached out to our USDA representative. USDA said, we will not be subordinate or on parity with any loan. So that means iBank is potentially out of the picture, but that did lead to my email to the USDA person say, can you give us money? They said, potentially. So hopefully that's a smile on Councilmember Bryant's face, but now I'm going down this path of USDA loan for that. So I was hoping to get a resolution for iBank on this agenda. That didn't even happen. So now we're cruising down the USDA path.
To include us in the appropriations requests. Okay. But yeah, USD loans are great. Sorry.
Yeah, USDA loans sound great.
So I'm working that path. So it's really just information at
All
this
right.
point. I would,
I think USDA they must be a really
Better rate.
pain to work with. I sympathetic. Thank you for your,
I mean, I
They're
will, s-
nice. I will say,
They're
we're
lovely.
working with them in Wairika on the fire hall
They're nice,
project,
huh?
and they're very nice. It's a lot of information.
Yeah.
It's a lot of information you have to provide.
I'd heard they got gutted pretty badly last year. So good to hear they're up and running again and
Yeah.
able to provide 40-year, probably 3% loans currently.
6.
Really?
well, there's potentially for us, there's like in the 3-4, if
Yeah, we're-
it's
we're
for
special.
We're set.
if it's for like
just
water that's
complicated.
bad, that needs to be good, whatever the cool terminology is for that, they can't think of right now, then it's even a
Essential
little bit
services.
less.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Well, thank you, Blake.
Yeah.
Sorry, iBank didn't work out.
Told you.
They've got such a cool name, you know.
No. Anyway, no. All right, there is no discussion or action on this item, but if anyone has any questions or just a general comment for the Moss Bay Springs project, I will open up public comment for this one. So you have 3 minutes if you'd like to make any comment, ask a question. Seeing none, we will close this item and move into future agenda items. We have quite a few that I think we've assigned today. So I would request that council members, if you do have a future agenda item, to maybe email Blake or myself, and we will make sure that the next agenda is not overloaded with lots of things.
It doesn't need to be next time, but of the next two, can we do a closed session item to update on our code enforcement? We tried to stay more present with that, and it's been about 6 months. And activity has taken place. So I think it's
Yeah, we could
appropriate we
maybe
revisit.
ask Curtis or someone from his firm to do a closed session at the second meeting in April, depending on how things pan out.
Yeah.
The first meeting in April is starting to get full from other items, so.
Sounds good.
I'm thinking that's the best.
It's not immediate. Just remember in May, we're going to be very focused on
Budget.
city manager.
Yeah, so that's why that's why I was hoping the second meeting in April might be the best.
Yeah.
So,
So,
right.
whenever you can fit it in.
Just have one thing that I'd like to at least bring back for a discussion or clarification or where we're at with it. Last year, we discussed putting a pay station at Hedge Creek Falls.
Oh, yeah.
Just question mark about that.
For parking.
What, yeah,
Yeah.
Maybe just an update
Yeah.
on that would be
like,
nice.
yeah. Did we buy the thing? Are we gonna do the thing?
Maybe just like an email for right now, and then if someone feels like it needs to be agendized, we can agendize it after that.
Okay.
Right. Any other good of the order? Seeing none, we will adjourn.
I think so.